Okay, so for the test on Tuesday, you have 2 long answers. Okay, so this is what we talked about yesterday. Discuss the arguments between the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. Okay, so a lot of that was based, if you focus on the Anti-Federalist arguments, which are the national government's going to be too powerful, the states are going to be abused, the president is going to become like a monarch, like a king, and become all powerful, right? And that territories can only be held together by force, okay, something this big. And then the last one, there's no Bill of Rights, right? There's no Bill of Rights. And so the Federalists counter with the argument that you don't need a Bill of Rights because the state constitutions have bills of rights in them. And the president is not going to become like a king because we have separation of powers. We have checks and balances so that none of the 3 branches will become too powerful. Okay. And so that's your major arguments. Okay. Now, there is a little bit of crossover here, which can get confusing for people with the other one, okay? Because this was an argument over the legislative branch of government in the new Constitution. You had the Virginia plan. You had the New Jersey plan. The New Jersey plan favored which kind of states? The New Jersey plan. Small states. And the Virginia plan favored the large states because the representation based on population, the more people you have, the more seats you have, the more power you have. So the small states were like, no, we need protection from the big states. And that's really what the argument is about. One had a bicameral legislature. That's the Virginia plan. One had New Jersey had a unicameral legislature with equal representation. And the Great Compromise, of course, is where they create a bicameral legislature with the House of Representatives based on population, and the Senate, where everybody gets 2. Each state gets 2. And that solved the problem of the big state versus small state issue. Okay? So you got 2 5-point long answers. Okay? There's really no excuse to do poorly on this, guys. If you just spend a few minutes working on it. Okay? And then the other stuff I'll go over on Monday. Okay? And I'll hit on that again on Monday, but just in case anybody wanted to look at it this weekend, okay? And today, really, we're going to focus on Federalist number 10 by James Madison. Like I told you guys, and some of you guys did this, some of you didn't. That's all right. That's life, okay? But again, these papers were written to try and convince people, especially in New York, that this new Constitution was a good thing, okay? So Anti-Federalist concerns that there were too many small groups, okay, or factions to be governed democratically by a single government. Madison, acknowledging the presence of these factions, argued that majority rule should be the central governing concern, and that the protection of the majority may sometimes come at the expense of minority rights. This is a fact of life. Okay, now when you were reading this, those of you that did, and you started reading about these factions, what came to mind? Like, what is a faction today? Say again? Okay, different religions. What else? A group of people with what? Differing opinions, yes? Did anybody think political parties? Okay, yeah. So, yeah, political parties are what I get a lot. We do this in honors class a lot. We read 10, and a lot of people say political parties. Okay, yes, political parties are factions, but let me give you some factions today. All right. Raise your hand if you know what this is. The NRA today. Okay, this is the National Rifle Association. Okay, it is one of the most powerful groups in America. It's called an interest group. Okay, people that believe strongly in what amendment? The Second Amendment. Will join the National Rifle Association. I think it's $30 to join for a year. Okay, and they'll send you, you know, like a free magazine, like Field and Stream or something like that, or a pocket knife, or they'll send you a duffel bag for becoming a member. Okay, I've got a couple NRA duffel bags and a pocket knife that I've got. Now, you can become a lifetime member of the NRA. I've joined the NRA like twice, mostly when they're under attack. When the NRA gets under attack, that's when I join, just to show them some support, okay? But I'm not like a lifetime member, and I think I told you guys, I never owned a gun before until the lockdown. Did I tell you that? Yeah. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a political statement saying I'm going to join the NRA this year just to, you know, join this interest group to protect Second Amendment rights, okay? You guys ever heard of this one? Yeah, you hadn't heard of the NRA, but you heard of this. Okay, this is People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. Okay, for about a couple months, I worked in the perfume industry. Ladies, any of y'all wear perfume? Gentlemen, any of you guys wear cologne? Okay. My wife doesn't wear perfume because I'm allergic to most of it. Okay. You ever sit down at church behind that old lady that's got a ton of hairspray or perfume on? I can't breathe. Like, and it goes straight to my brain and I get a headache. So usually I have an issue with this with students bringing in scented hand lotion in the class that's really flowery. I'll get a headache. I can't breathe. I'm like, don't bring that in here again, please. Okay. It smells nice, but it's killing me. Okay. They test perfumes on animals like rabbits. So like they'll shave the rabbit and then test the different perfumes on them to see what kind of irritation it has on the skin. Well, PETA's against that, using rabbits for testing, okay? You guys know who Dr. Anthony Fauci is, right? Okay. Now, there's a lot of people that don't like him. So they're looking into what the National Institutes of Health is up to besides COVID, right? And I don't know if you heard this story about the beagles, the dogs. Okay. They're doing these horrible experiments on these. You guys know what a beagle is, right? They get the little floppy ears, they're small dogs. And like, horrible experiments. Like they have breeders that breed these beagles because they have a really nice temperament. These dogs, beagles, have a nice temperament, and yeah, they end up breeding these dogs and then give them to the National Institute of Health, and then they kill them by doing experiments on them. Like the Nazis did. Okay, and something PETA's really against this sort of thing. Okay, now. Does it bother you if a perfume company shaves a bunny and tests perfume on it? It may bother some of you. So like when you read the label of your perfume, ladies, it'll say on there whether they test this on animals or not. Okay? A lot of them will have that label on there because PETA went after them. All right, so they switched to doing other ways. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm not a huge PETA fan. How about this one? You guys ever heard of this? American Association of Retired People. Okay, this is a huge organization. Okay, where retired people join this, they get discounts. You can buy insurance through them and this sort of thing. Okay, and there's a lot of old people in this country, and a lot of people join it. And when you join, you pay a fee to join. And now the AARP has all kinds of money. What are they going to do with this money? What are these interest groups going to do? Let me give you another one. This is a pro-life group, yes? Okay. And what do? They raise money raise money for? To educate voters on candidates that support life and educate voters on candidates that don't support life. The NRA does the same thing. They raise hundreds of millions of dollars to educate voters on people that support the Second Amendment and those that oppose the Second Amendment. So with everybody we have in this room, some of you support some of these things, and some of you are opposed to that. Yes? Those are special interest groups. And there are thousands of them. And there were hundreds or maybe thousands back then when they wrote the new Constitution. Okay? The thing today, and the reason why I'm talking about this guy, because today there is so much money in our politics. In 2008, Barack Obama was the first candidate to raise $1 billion running for president. $1 billion. Okay, where does this money come from? A lot of it from interest groups. So these interest groups are buying influence in Washington, D.C. You follow me? Now, does that piss you off that Bill Gates, Charles Koch, super rich people, Jeff Bezos, can have all this influence in Congress and with the president, and you and I, you guys are poor high school kids, okay? I'm a teacher. I don't have that kind of influence like Bill Gates has. Is that fair? Some people say it's not fair. Well, you know what I say? If I don't like what Bill Gates is proposing and trying to influence our members of Congress with, I join with a bunch of other people, like say 10,000 other people, and we all chip in $20 a piece, and we'll compete with Bill Gates' money. With me? That's an interest group. That's what they do. That's what these do. These are people that have like-minded opinions that join together, pool their money together to try and get candidates elected that support their interests. Now, the media today refers to these groups in a derogatory way as special interests. Okay? And that politicians are bowing just to special interests. Guys, we could do away. We could pass laws. We could change the Constitution to say that these interest groups or super rich individuals cannot give money to campaigns. Now, if we didn't allow these interest groups to give money or individuals to give money, then the only people that would have enough money to run for office would be what kind of people? Rich people. Because it's expensive to run a campaign. You know what I mean? So this allows people that have specific views to have other people support them with financial, okay, for running for office. Now let's look at what Madison writes here. Among the numerous advantages proposed by a well-constructed union, none deserves more accurately developed than its tendency to break and control the violence of faction. The friend of popular governments never finds herself so much alarmed for their character and fate as when he contemplates their propensity, inclination to this dangerous vice. Okay, so factions can get upset. Oh, damn. Oh, what are you doing to me here? Okay. Oh, there you go. You should do that. By faction, I can even make this bigger, can't I? Okay. By faction, I understand a number of citizens, whether amounting to a majority or a minority of the whole, who are united and actuated by some common impulse or faction interest adverse opposed to the rights of other citizens or permanent and aggregate interests of the community. So let's talk about guns, right? Hopefully none of you in here have ever been a victim of gun violence. Okay, but many people that are victims of gun violence oppose guns. Some say, well, I'm a victim of gun violence. I'm going to get a gun so that won't happen to me again. Okay, but then some advocate against the Second Amendment, and then you have those that advocate for it. Which is the majority and which is the minority? Did you say a majority of Americans support the Second Amendment? Yeah. Not a huge majority, but a majority nonetheless. So your minority, say it's 60-40 or 70-30, whatever it is. Okay? The minority here cannot take away people's Second Amendment rights. Now, let's flip it. You want to flip it? So let's say 30% of Americans support the Second Amendment, and 70% oppose it. It is in the Constitution, it's in the Bill of Rights that you have the right to bear arms. Can the majority of 70% abuse the minority of 30% in this case? No, unless they change the Constitution. If, guys, they don't change the Constitution, that is still your right. Remember when we talked about majority rules, minority rights? This is what Madison's talking about. We can subvert people's opinions or what they want. So let's talk about masks, right? I went into the dorm yesterday at Neosho Community College, and I had to put on a mask to go in the dorm. Did I want to put on a mask? I haven't worn a mask since I was in Lawrence on Sunday. And before that, I hadn't worn a mask since I was in Lawrence 2 weeks before that. And before that, I hadn't worn a mask in a freaking month. And I don't want to wear a freaking mask. But I'm being subverted. My will is being subverted by the majority. Okay? But is the right not to wear a mask in the Constitution? Is it in the Bill of Rights? No. So you can subvert the will of a minority or a majority as long as it's not dealing with your rights. Follow me? Because those are set in stone. Your rights are set in stone. Okay? So we do this all the time. I pay taxes I don't want to pay to feed free lunches to people that don't need it. And I don't want to, but I do it anyways. Okay? We're not talking about rights here. Okay? So there are two methods of curing, the mischiefs of faction. Okay? One by removing its causes, the other by controlling its effects. Now, guys, this is really good stuff here. Guys, stay with me. Again, there are two methods. One by destroying the liberty which is essential to its existence. Okay? Here it is. You're not allowed to have these. No interest groups. Can't raise money. Can't join together. Okay? Now, are you living in a free country anymore? No, you're destroying liberty. And I know factions can sometimes piss people off because the majority faction usually wins. So the minority faction is like, well, what? That sucks. But which is worse? Because if you're in the minority today, you can work to convince people to change their minds. But if you don't allow factions to exist in the first place, then you have no freedom to do either. It's worse than the symptoms. Yes? So if you want to do away with money in our campaigns and put limits on people's ability to give, there's a very important Supreme Court case. If you guys ever get into politics or really start paying attention to stuff, there's a Supreme Court case called Citizens United. Okay? And this case was about 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And basically it said, corporations like Coke Industries, corporations like General Motors, corporations like Microsoft or Amazon are made up of people. And since corporations are made up of people, corporations can give money to campaigns as much as they want. Now, there are many people in this country that don't like that and will like to see Citizens United overturned. Now, you guys have all heard of labor union? Okay, the United Auto Workers. The largest union in the United States today is the Service Employees Union International, SEIU. Okay? They pull their money together through what are called union dues, right? You join a union every month, the money comes out of your check, it goes to the union. Every month, every paycheck. What does the union do with this money? It sets aside some in case the union goes on strike, like the teachers union, which is huge, okay? The rest of the money, they spend on political campaigns, okay? The head of the American Federation, or National Education Association, Randy Weigarten. Randy is a girl, okay? At least she identifies as a girl, okay? Now, Randy Weigarten interviewed, not in a mask, on MSNBC this last weekend. Because you guys, I don't know if you've heard this, but New York, these other blue states are dropping mask mandates and vaccine mandates. Been following, like this week, it's like they're dropping like flies. What we did a year ago or 9 months ago, they're doing now. Now you got 259 still in masks, right? Have we been worse with COVID because of no masks than 259 has been with masks? Is there any evidence? Is there scientific evidence that wearing masks in school prevents the spread of COVID? Where's the evidence? There is none. And that's why people are dropping it. Now, the CDC is still recommending that schools mask their kids. Listen, you guys are high school kids, okay? You have some classmates and some friends of yours that, like, missed out on, like, maturing over a 2-year period. Like the discipline problems that we're having in the school. We have stunted your social, emotional growth with lockdowns and masks. Think about the kids. You got little brothers and sisters, and you guys got like elementary brothers and sisters. Freaking putting a kid in a mask for 8 hours a day. The teacher's wearing a mask, can't see their face. This is horrible. The emotional effect that this has had on our youth and our adults. You guys know how much alcoholism went up during this, guys? Listen, during the lockdown, when we shut down, I started drinking. I was bored. I'm just being honest. You know what I mean? You couldn't go to a restaurant or anything. You know what I mean? You get carry out. But basically, you're just staying home. You guys remember this, right? Sucked. Now, that's when I also started walking. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, all right, I'm going to lose some weight. Okay, so I turned a bad into a good. I was like, I'm just going to start walking. You guys, that really helped me because now I'm running. Like, I never thought I'd run again. I got arthritis issues in my ankles and feet and elbows and wrists. Okay, but just by, just doing it enough, I got stronger, okay? And then when it was over, I was like, dude, I need to stop drinking every night. You know what I mean? I need to stop. This isn't good, okay? So I did, you know what I mean? I'm not, I got busy again. I got things to do. Go to work, watch a movie, whatever, okay? But for Stucky, Amazon Prime, new show. Dude, what's it? He's a badass, dude. You get into watching this? Reacher. Yeah. You been watching Reacher? No. You watching it? Yeah. It's pretty good. I like that character, man. He's cool. Sorry. It's good, though, on Amazon Prime. Reacher. A little bit violent. A little bit of had some nudity in episode 4, but not bad, guy. You'll like it. Yeah. Okay. Thing stinks, though, is like it's one season, right? So you gotta wait. You guys caught up on Ozark, right? And then it's just one season. It was short. It's like 7 episodes. Come on. It was good. Yeah, it was good. Okay, sorry. All right. So let me get back into this. Okay, so Citizens United, spending as much money as you want. Unions do this. And look, Randy Weigart, the teachers union guys, the National Education Association and the American Federation of Teachers give huge amounts of money to the Democratic Party. Huge amounts of money. Okay? Because there's a lot of teachers in the teachers union. Okay? Now, I will never join the teachers union. There's no way in hell. Teachers unions care about teachers. Teachers unions don't care about the kids. Don't care about the students. They're worried about teachers. Okay? And oftentimes when you worry too much about the teachers, you do that, you damage the kids. Okay? And listen, I'm a public servant. I'm here to serve the diocese, your parents, and you. Anybody that's a cop, anybody that's a firefighter, anybody that's a teacher, a soldier, these are public servants. And they should not make as much money. It's in the name, it's servants, because we are serving others. Now, we should have a living wage, yes? Okay, but we shouldn't be getting rich on it, because who pays our salary, especially in the public? Who pays our salary in the public school? No, not the government, the taxpayers. So when you're asking for more money as a teacher in the public schools, you're bargaining against the taxpayer, not the government. You understand? So working people that pay taxes have to fund that. People lose sight of that. All right? And for a few years here, what we have seen when it comes to wages, now this has changed over the last like 3 or 4 years, but public sector workers' wages were going up and private were going down, which means the people that are paying the taxes for these salaries is going down while theirs is going up. Does that make sense? That's wrong. You following me? Okay, these interest groups have a lot of power, whether it's unions, whether it's private industries, or whether it's interest groups. Okay, so we have to compete with each other between the minority and the majority when it comes to these interests that we have. Okay, let's look at the second relief to this, the second remedy. Well, it could never be more truly said of the first remedy that it's worse than the disease, right? Liberty, and just the way Madison writes here, guys. People don't write like this anymore. I know your Hobbit essay did not look this good, even though it was really easy. But look at this. He says that it's worse. Liberty is to faction what air is to fire, an ailment with which it instantly expires. But it could not be less folly, stupid, to abolish liberty, which is essential to political life because it nourishes faction. Freedom nourishes faction. We're all going to have our own opinions. Then it would to wish the annihilation of air, which is essential to animal life. Okay? Because it imparts fire its destructive agency. Yeah, I mean, fire gets bigger the more oxygen it has. Right? More freedom we have, our factions will do what they do. Okay? That's good stuff, man. Love it. Okay, so the second expedient is as impracticable as the first would be unwise. As long as the reason of man continues fallible, yeah, we can make bad decisions. Okay? And he is at liberty to exercise. We have the right to be stupid. We still have the right to be stupid in this country. You don't want to wear a helmet when you're riding a motorcycle down the highway or in the city. You have the right to do that in some states. In some states, they've taken away your rights to be stupid. Okay? Now, when I ride a bike, which is not very often, I do not wear a helmet. Now, as I get older, I might want to because, I might fall down. Okay? But right now, I can ride a bike. I can ride a bike just as good as any of you. Ride bikes? You a BMXer? Okay, I can't ride as good as you. But the rest of you, okay? I grew up riding a bike all the time. You ever heard the saying? It's like riding a bike. Just get on and do it, right? Like, you never forget how to do it. You ever go down a mountain? I have. That's some crazy stuff, man. I mean, I can't believe I did it. I can't believe my wife did it. I can't believe we did that. Down a mountain. Okay, sorry. All right. Okay. Is liberty to exercise. Different opinions will be formed as long as the connection subsists between his reason and his self-love, his self-interest, his opinions, his passions will have a reciprocal influence on each other. The inference to which we are brought is that the causes of faction cannot be removed and that relief is only sought by means of controlling its effects. Here's the second expedient. Did we do that? So we abolish these, right? The other one is to give everybody the same opinion, right? Where's that? Oh, did they not put that in there? Is it in there? Give everybody the same opinions. Okay, I don't know if I have another one in my honors book. Okay, so the other way to do this, to get rid of factions or control factions, is to give everybody the same opinion, right? Can we do that? Is that possible? This is what they did in Nazi Germany. So when the Nazis took over, they controlled the curriculum of all the schools. They set up the Hitler Youth, right? And so every teacher had to use the same curriculum and teach the kids the same stuff. And when they weren't at school, they were at the Hitler Youth, and so they learned that it was reinforced there. So you create a whole nation of idiots that don't know how to think for themselves, that just do what they're told. That's what the Nazis did. And they did. They created a generation of people that could not think for themselves. This is why the United States has always been so good at innovation. Because we have freedom to think outside the box. In China, guys, do you think they allow people to teach whatever they want in the classroom? Dude, nobody told me I had to teach this. You understand? We got like 30 chapters in our government book, right? And I chose like 8 chapters. Who chose those? I did. What I choose to teach about here, they trust me to do. What I think is important to teach. Miss Lovelace doesn't teach the same stuff I do all the time. We cover, obviously the 3 branches of government, but I have what I think is important. And what I think is important is freedom, liberty, knowing what your rights are, knowing how to stand up for your rights, knowing the basis of the foundation of this country, so that we don't forget where we came from. Because, guys, if you say this, listen, your rights, your natural rights don't come from God. We just talked about this. They don't come from God. They come from man. If man gives us our rights, you can take them away. If God gives them to us, you can't take them away. Well, what if when the majority of people in this country don't believe in God? And they say, well, God didn't give you these rights. Joe Biden gave you these rights. And he's going to take them away. No, people. No. Then we go back to John Locke. And when he says, listen, if you don't secure my rights, we're going to overthrow that government. That's when that happens. Because we know we have a right to do that and an obligation to do that for our children. Look at these freaking Canadian truckers, man. Pay attention to what's going on up there. It's crazy. So they shut down the bridges coming into the United States. There's no trade. Guys, there's, what was the number? Like $35 million of trade that comes across that border every day. Detroit, which builds a lot of cars still, is not getting the parts that it imports from Canada. Canada is not getting the food that we export to Canada. So let's talk about supply chain issues. Listen, these truckers, farmers, they're banding together and saying, listen, these mandates, they need to go away. We're standing up for our liberty, for freedom. And 90% of the truckers, guys, are vaccinated. They're standing on principle. That's a faction right there. 3 of the 5, or how many Canadian provinces? 3 of the provinces has said they're doing away with mandates. It's working. Now they just need Justin Trudeau to do it. Okay? And that dude. Okay. So let's make everybody. Now, could we do that in the United States? What if we used the U.S. Department of Education and we said, every teacher in America, public, private, and homeschool, you got to teach the exact same thing to all of our kids. And we're going to teach you a woke curriculum, all right? Let's get woke on this, and let's get everybody to think the same exact way. Then we won't have any factions. We won't have any liberty. This is the beauty of federalism. Remember when we talked about sharing of power between national, state, and local? This is the beauty of it. Now, Mr. O'Connor, my buddy that teaches at Northwest, he has certain things that he's got to cover, but there's still some local control over education. You know what I mean? So what Madison is telling us here, guys, we're going to have these factions. Are they uncomfortable sometimes? Absolutely. Do they have too much power at some times? Yes. Will they abuse the minority? Yes, but not their rights. Okay, when it comes to your rights, they're protected. They're supposed to be protected. You with me? Okay? And guys, I'm just telling you, and I've been teaching this for 20-some years, and I get more and more of a realization just how well this was put together and how smart these people were that put this together. Okay? It has worked really well. Now, again, and I always want to, mention, that yes, we've made mistakes. You know what I mean? And the system right now is not perfect, right? We got $30 trillion in debt. We got this old guy as a president, right? And inflation, but there's other good things going on. I mean, there's a lot of good things going on. Okay? And so do your hard work, love your neighbor, set your goals, go tackle your goals, and you guys can do whatever you want. You know what I mean? That's a great country. It's a great country. Okay, so, that'd be good talk on factions. All right? The money's going to be in politics. It sucks. It sucks. Okay? Let me just end with this. Let's say I'm running for Congress. Okay? Which I have thought about before. Okay? And I'm a pro-Second Amendment guy. The NRA may choose to support me because I'm running and I'm pro-Second Amendment, yes? If I get elected, has the NRA bought a vote in Congress? Or have they simply supported somebody that thought like they did? Are they actually buying votes or supporting people that support them? The people we need to get out of the swamp are the ones that their votes are affected by the money that's given to them. The NRA is not going to give me money if I'm against the Second Amendment. They're not buying the vote. They're just helping somebody that thinks like them get into office. Now, what we need to start paying attention to, guys, is the influence of China in our country. The Chinese are trying to expand influence in our country. This is new, okay? And it's something that we need to start paying more attention to, all right? The Chinese are starting to try and challenge the United States economically and globally with our influence. You guys know post-World War II, United States influence that spread around the world, okay? As our economy maybe slows down a little bit, we get tired of war like Afghanistan, right? And so Russia and China say, okay, the Americans are stepping back, we're going to step in. Follow me? They are investing heavily in South America, the Chinese are, in Central America and Africa. And this is what they do. They loan these businesses in those countries, they loan them money. And so these big businesses in Argentina or Panama or wherever, if they don't manage their businesses well, they go into debt with who? China. And when you can't pay your debt, China seizes the property in Argentina, in Nigeria, in Panama. And now they run that big industry in your country. The Chinese do. This is how they're doing it. Okay? And can those countries stand up to China? Like we can? Not generally. Okay? So that's like, you know, that's something pretty new and important that you won't be hearing about.